can't figure this team out. The Dodgers have zero momentum, dropping games to teams like the Rockies. And now, if Shohei's not okay, this whole season could spiral even faster.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Ugly game all around from the Dodgers, who now their best case scenario is splitting the series against baseball's worst team in 2025. Shohei Ohtani got drilled by a comebacker, but avoided the worst case scenario. And we take a look at how the two major leaguers that the Dodgers traded away before the deadline are looking with their new teams in today's episode, which is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters Tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz. Two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. If you're an early bird listener of our show, you can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app from 9 to noon with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. And we want you to be a part of our show. Hit us up on the Locked On Dodgers listener line, 279-356-2533. Travis, I know our everydayers have a lot to say right now after the Dodgers made Tanner Gordon make a pitcher that had an ERA nearly at 8, looked like Paul Skeens or Tariq Skubal.
Yeah, it was the low water mark for me, Harry. It was as bad as it could have been. It was a game they needed to win against a pitcher who's not very good, with one of your best pitchers on the mound, with a $300 million lineup, and you got your butt kicked. It was ugly. There is no silver lining to this at all. It was an ugly, ugly night. It was an uninspiring performance. It was a game that you absolutely needed to win, that was set up for you to win, and they went quiet. It wasn't just that they lost, which would have been bad under any circumstance. They went quietly. This is, as somebody who's watched baseball for a long time, played baseball for a long time, I'm not a big play baseball with a closed fist sort of guy. It doesn't work like that. You got to kind of approach this in a fairly even-keeled manner. There's a reason that all these guys say, you don't get too high, you don't get too low. You always have a game tomorrow, that you just got to kind of live in the moment. And I get that. But last night was a game that you had to go out there and take, and they didn't. They just didn't do it. That is not a good team. I know that they're better than they were in the early part of the season. I understand that, but this is a team that was ready to go. This is a team that was, they're going to lose 115 or so games, and they just pushed you around, and they pounded one of the guys that you're counting on to be a stalwart in your rotation by the time you get to the postseason. It was an ugly night, Harry.
Yeah, playing a competitive game against the Rockies on Monday was like, man, that was too close for comfort. But then looking over at what happened on Wednesday, which was a complete stinker by the Dodgers.
Yeah.
The pitching disappointed, the bats disappointed, uncompetitive game from beginning to end. We all were like, okay, when Shohei got that leadoff double, all right, we're going to do the same thing we did yesterday on Tuesday. We got almost 20 hits. We scored over 10 runs. Silent. These bats, if it weren't for Miguel Rojas towards the end of the game, getting a double that got a couple of runs home, it would have been a game where the Dodgers only scored 1 run. And that was just like garbage time in basketball, where you get some stats, it pads it up, it makes it look not as ugly as we know it was when you watch the game. But this team is built for being able to win in October. This team is built to go back-to-back, and right now, in mid-August, practically the second to last week in August, we're talking about a team that can't even be consistent, can't build any type of momentum, because even out of those 3 wins against the Padres, 2 were by 1 run at Dodger Stadium, where if you're in a different environment, where you're at Petco Park with all the noise, with all the support the Padres are going to get this weekend, maybe one of those games goes the way of San Diego. Now you're going to potentially go to San Diego with the divisional lead tied with the Padres, and that's a very bad scenario for the Dodgers going into the last month of the season.
Yeah, I like your phrasing. It was garbage time runs at the end. Those don't count. Because when they had a chance to crawl back into the game, they didn't do it. Even when they scored the 1 run to kind of say, all right, at least now you're in a 1 swing situation where you can tie the game, they immediately gave runs up again to let that lead get a little bigger. It was there's nothing to take away from what they did offensively last night other than you didn't show up. This was the part of the schedule where you were supposed to separate. You had the Angels. You had the Colorado Rockies. These are 2 teams that are not going to the postseason. These are 2 teams that are ready to be pushed over the cliff, and you didn't do it. And, I mean, quite frankly, they're in a weird spot going into today's game against the Rockies in the 4th. They could lose 3 or 4 to the Rockies, which is completely unacceptable. A split is unacceptable. A split is ugly, and that's the best that you can do with this group. It's the low point for me this season, because I think that, at least I'll speak for myself, I keep waiting for them to find their groove. I keep waiting for them to look like the team that I was hopeful they would be, that I thought they would be, which is they're going to get a bunch of hits each night. They're going to score runs consistently. They're going to pitch pretty well in the starting rotation, and the bullpen will be good enough. I think that's kind of what I thought this team would be coming into the season. It simply hasn't happened, right? The hitting comes and goes. The defense comes and goes. The smart baseball comes and goes. The starting pitching was not there early. The bullpen is not there now. That this may just be who they are, where are they good enough to show up and win a series against a good team? Yeah, clearly they are. They beat Toronto 2 out of 3. They swept the San Diego Padres. Those are the sorts of teams you're going to play in the postseason. But their margins are razor thin. You've also seen, like you just mentioned, a group that can go out there and lose to anybody. That one of the secret sauces of the Dodgers over the last several years is they beat bad teams really consistently. They beat the Rockies, I think it was 10 times in a row coming into this series. I think I heard last night that they've won, going into last night, 28 of the last 35 times they played the Rockies. That's what you're supposed to do against those teams. It's just clobber them, and they haven't been able to do it. And I know I'm repeating myself, but this was a really disappointing night, because this wasn't a, hey, we got a bullpen, hey, we sat a bunch of starters. This was the A team out there, and they lost to the Colorado Rockies decisively. It was really disappointing.
Let me put things into perspective, Travis. The Rockies have only won 7 series this season.
Yeah.
The same number that the Dodgers had by April 30th. April 30th, the Dodgers had already won 7 series. It's August 21st when we're recording this morning.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are potentially the 8th victim of a series win
the
by
Rockies
the Rockies. That's crazy.
Yeah, the Rockies have been a better team than the Dodgers since the All-Star break. I mean, let that sink in for a moment. The Rockies have a better record than the Los Angeles Dodgers since the All-Star break. I
don't think it's a winning record.
No, it's
even
not
that bad.
No, they both have losing records. It's just that the Dodgers I think the Dodgers have the 4th worst record in the major leagues since the All-Star break. It is an ugly patch of, and right when you think they're coming back out against a team like the Padres or the Blue Jays, they go right back in it. After the Blue Jays series, they go right back in it against the Angels. After the Padres series, they go right back in it against the Rockies. And I guess the good news is it doesn't really matter as long as you get in. You just need to win some series here or there. But if you're like me and you've been waiting for that there it is, that's the Dodger team for any extended period of time. We've seen it in a game here and a game there, but as far as consistently showing up and really looking like a World Series caliber team and looking like it for, a week or 2 or a month at a time, hasn't been here.
And I know you mentioned A team, But in reality, you look at what happened yesterday. Mookie Betts had a day off, and I understand you wanting to give him a break here or there, especially with such a long stretch of days with games in those consecutive days with games. But look at the Dodgers lineup that Dave Roberts sent out for this game. And it had me very worried from the moment I saw it posted on social media. I was like, well, it's interesting. Top four, I'm okay with, of course. Shohei Ohtani, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez. Good with that. Andy Pajes, he was in the 5 spot. Better at home than on the road. Then the bottom four, those 6 through 9 spots looked, in my opinion, no disrespect to them, like a minor league team. Michael Conforto, Alex Freeland, Miguel Rojas, and Buddy Kennedy. Rojas can get streaky if he's on the field for more than a week. Then he gets in a groove where it's like, okay, he's a major league hitter. But when you're putting him out there in spots, it's not good enough. So I'll make this question right here, Travis. Why is Alex Call in the bench after having 4 hits? I know that you like that platoon of Conforto against one side, Alex Call against the other, right-handed, left-handed pitchers. Why is Alex Call out there not 24 hours after he got 4 hits and he's in the bench? That's ridiculous, in my opinion.
I'm with you. This is one of these things where you let your math be smarter than your brain. That the guy that's hot, let's let him be hot. And I understand they had, Buddy Kennedy is not a regular for them. Alex Freeland is not a rip, but fact of the matter is they had 6 starters that are regular guys. I'm throwing Rojas in there. The first 5 guys, those are guys that play every day for the Dodgers. And let me ask you this. Is there anybody on the Rockies that even with Buddy Kennedy and the likes in the lineup that you would rather have a Rocky player than a Dodger player, even the guys at the bottom? No, of course not. This is not a, hey, we ran up the white. I get it's not that Dodger lineup that we thought we were going to have, day one in Tokyo, going back a million years. But it was Shohei, it was Will Smith, it was Freddie Freeman, it was Teoscar Hernandez. Miguel Rojas is a quasi-regular at this point. He's been there a lot. Andy Pajes has had a pretty good season. And they get killed by the Rockies? I mean, come on, man. That's just one of those. And the whole mood was weird. They just flat rolled over in the middle of that game. There was no fight in them at all. It was very disappointing.
Hey, as a Dodger fan, it makes me appreciate when our team is healthy and you can see a lineup from 1 through 9 where it's like, man, okay, any moment this Dodger lineup can explode. Yesterday, it didn't feel like that case where it was like, okay, Andy Pajes was coming up after Teo. It felt like he was so close to hitting 2 home runs, but he didn't get it. What is it now? 16 home runs in a row that he's hit only at Dodger Stadium, that he hasn't hit any in the road. That's ridiculous. But other teams, that's their construction. They're top heavy. They got 3-4 great hitters at the top of the lineup. And then the rest of the way, it's like, hopefully you're able to get some runners on base. That's not the case with the Dodgers. We know the great players they have. Some of them on minor league rehab, and hopefully they're back soon because the Dodgers need it real bad. But next on Locked On Dodgers, how concerned should we be after Shohei Ohtani was drilled by a comebacker in his right leg? Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. After I joined Monarch Money, I was shocked to see how many subscriptions I had, and also all that takeout, it definitely stacked up. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use Locked On MLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Like James, who said if they go back-to-back, it would be a miracle. Baseball is crazy. I hope James was talking about back-to-back World Series titles because that's very hard. But damn, right now, winning games back-to-back seems to be as difficult for the Dodgers. And it became even harder with Shohei Ohtani not looking sharp on the mound in his first pitching start at Coors Field. 4 innings, 9 hits, 5 earned runs, only 3 strikeouts. That's the most hits, most earned runs since he started pitching for the Dodgers. That tied for most hits allowed in a game in his MLB career. It was rough for him, and Coors Field, that stadium, that altitude played a part in it. His pitches didn't have the movement he's used to when he's at sea level, and altitude definitely affected right there. And here's his quote post-game. Very regrettable. Put the team in a bad spot. It was just a very regrettable outing that I wish I could have done better. And that's the truth. And we're not even talking about him being hit on his leg right there, Travis. We're just talking about him pitching.
He was bad. I mean, he was bad. There's no two way, he was bad. This was a bad outing from a guy that you can't expect to have too many bad outings. They hit him hard. It wasn't like they had a bleeder here or there and, ran into 100. They hit him hard. 9 hits in 4 innings means you're getting hit hard. And they did. And, he just wasn't able to get out of his own way. I was listening to some post-game stuff, and Mark Pryor apparently knew before the game that he did not look good in the bullpen, and that doesn't always translate necessarily to having good or bad stuff in the game. Sometimes one has nothing to do with the other, but they knew going into that at least he was not looking good. He still hasn't been able to complete the 5 innings that I think Dodger fans have been waiting for. It's like we've been saying for weeks, hey, take the guardrails off of Shohei. We're going to need him in the postseason to pitch into the 6th and 7th inning. He can't finish 5. He didn't even get to the 5th last night against a terrible Rockies team. It was a rough night all around. He had a bad night. He owns it. And this is one of the things I love about Shohei Ohtani is that he doesn't pretend that, he could have offered a million different excuses. He didn't. He said it was a bad outing, and it was. I expect him to be a lot better the next time, but it just keeps coming back to the same thing. They're running out of time. They're running out of time to not win the division necessarily and not make the playoffs. I'm not really worried about either of those two things at this point, but to start looking like a good team, they're running out of time. And like you said, Shohei Ohtani on the bump against a bad Rockies team going up against a terrible Rockies pitcher. It's like, all right, this is exactly what the doctor ordered. You get your clock cleaned? Bummer. Real bad.
Yeah. And now you also got to look, okay, you're 2 games behind the Phillies, who are second place, who would be getting the second bye into the NLDS. But then look at the teams behind you. The Cincinnati Reds are 5 wins behind the Dodgers. You play against them. If the Cubs, Padres stay up to par in the way that they've been playing, you could even be looking into the postseason from the outside looking in. And that would be, I would not say anything else but fire Dave Roberts if the Dodgers don't make the playoffs in 2025. Even though he just got an extension, I know we're a month and a half away from the playoffs even being right there next to you. But, man, I hope that's not the case. But now we got to look at it. You're 2 games away from a bye, and you're 5 games away from not even being in the postseason. That's very worrisome. But let's talk about what everybody, the moment it happened, we were all freaked out. 4th inning with 1 out and runners at 2nd and 3rd. Orlando Arcia hit a comebacker directly to Ohtani's right leg. 1 run scored, and everybody was holding their breath because it seemed like it had hit the Japanese superstar on his knee. Fortunately, that wasn't the case. It actually hit his thigh. Ohtani completed the inning, was the 4th hitter up at bat in the 5th, but was taken out afterwards with the game just being out of reach. Dave Roberts also said that Ohtani was getting stiff and was sore in the thigh, and if he kept playing, he would have stiffened up even more. So here's the deal. Last night, Shohei said he was feeling pretty good and that he was going to do everything in his abilities to make sure it doesn't affect him going forward, and that his intention is to return on Friday. Dave Roberts had already said Ohtani was getting Thursday off. Any other player gets hit by a 94-mile-per-hour line drive on his right leg, done for the game. He won't even think about going back out there. Ohtani, he got 2 more outs. He went up at bat and then called it a day. It's now twice in his last 4 outings that he seems like is going to be done for the day. And no, he still goes out and takes an at bat. That shows you the resiliency, but this isn't nothing to play with right here, Travis, because a 94-mile-per-hour line drive to your leg, that's difficult.
Yeah, we were just talking about this yesterday. The everydayers will know it. I spent a lot of time talking about it on my radio show too, that I think one of the great superpowers of Shohei Ohtani that we really have not talked about all that much is that he plays every day, is that he's incredibly durable, is that he just, never mind that he's doing double duty, but he does, he plays almost every single day. This is his first scheduled off day of the season coming up on Thursday, and coming at the right time. I'm with you. When he got hit with that comebacker, everybody was holding their breath. When he ran over towards the first baseline to field the ball and kind of scooped it up and turned to try to throw it again, it really awkward step. I thought he might have landed awkwardly on his foot and twisted his ankle or his knee. It looked awful. He stayed in the game, obviously. He took that at bat, like you mentioned. You could feel the season flash before your eyes, because he's been the one offensive performer. I shouldn't say the one. Will Smith's been really good. Freddie Freeman's been really good too, but he's certainly been the power source for you all season long. They're going to need him if they're going to make any sort of run. I want to go back to something you were saying about falling out of the playoff picture. I think that's exceptionally unlikely. And I'll say this, and I think Dave Roberts does a really good job, and I think that he's done a really good job for a very long time. I don't put what's going through this on him almost at all. I really don't. That you and I are still doing the show together, relatively new. I give the players almost all of the credit, and I give the players almost all of the blame. It's not like Dave Roberts is making a bunch of decisions that don't make sense. He's having to play guys like Buddy Kennedy. It's that we're asking for where's Alex Call? Well, the Dodgers were not expecting to need an out. They didn't think Michael Conforto would hit a $105 or whatever he's hitting now. I think it's 190 something. That's a Michael Conforto problem. That's not a Dave Roberts problem. He's got the guys that he's got. So I don't put really hardly any of this on him. Putting a guy in a lineup one day or another, but he's dealing with a short stack, and it's hard to win with that. I'd be stunned if they didn't make the playoffs. Now losing the division, certainly on the table, certainly. But as far as falling out of the playoff picture, it just feels like something short of a mathematical impossibility.
Yeah, it seems like it, but right now I can't rule anything out. The way that the Dodgers are playing. If they go to San Diego and get swept, and if they lose today against the Rockies, the sky is going to be falling in the Dodgerverse, and everyone is going to be freaking out with the correct reasons to do so. But at least we're not freaking out right now because of Shohei Ohtani. It seems like he's okay. There's sometimes that you got to wait till the next morning and see if there's anything going on after. Sometimes the adrenaline, being in the moment, still being there, you're good. But then the next day, wait, man, that hurts a little bit more. Let's get some imaging. Let's get some x-rays. Let's see if something happened that's a little bit more worrisome for the Dodgers. For now, from what Shohei said, from what Dave Roberts said, we're in the clear. So let's see if that's the case tomorrow. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, we take a look at a couple of old friends who were with the team just 3 weeks ago.
Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime-flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for making your birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. So whether you're out on the course, you just need a little extra to push through the rest of your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. So look, I love playing golf. I'm out there all the time, and I'm just out there to have a good time and make some great memories. I love playing golf with my dad. I like being out there, and I want to be present, and I want to have, those incredible memories. And just the 5-hour energy makes you feel like you're right there. You're not foggy, you're present, you're having a great, great time with your friends and your family. And as we know, golf is all about those good times with good people. And of course, good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor, a 5-hour energy transfusion, gives you the best parts of your go-to clubhouse drink without leaving the course or chasing down the beverage cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more, right? Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. It excludes the Masters tournament, and it ends October 31, 2025.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. It was less than a week, exactly 22 days ago, the trade deadline, July 31st, that the Dodgers dealt James Outman and Dustin May out of their major league roster to other teams to get players, in the Twins case, to help right now, in the Red Sox case, to help in the future. Let's start off with James Outman. He just played in his third game with the Twins. He's gone 3 for 12 since he got traded from the Dodgers for Brock Stewart, but he had been with the Twins AAA ball club, the St. Louis Saints. So it's interesting now he finally gets called up because one of the outfielders gets hurt from the Twins, and he's finally getting playing time with Minnesota. Right there, right off the bat, Travis, it tells you if the Twins have him with the AAA ball club instead of their major league ball club off the bat, that tells you the Dodgers, in my opinion, won that trade. I love James Outman. I loved his rookie season, but he had been on a decline, and he had been very inconsistent since. And seeing his numbers, it just shows you, man, in my opinion, the Dodgers won that trade, even though Brock Stewart right now, he's on the IL.
Yeah, I don't know if you can win the trade when neither guy is doing anything. I think it's a net zero. The Dodgers got a pitcher that pitched poorly and then hasn't been able to pitch. So I don't, you got to get a little something out of your guy. I'm with you on James Outman. I was optimistic after the start he got off to, but this is why I always am slow to embrace a rookie hitter, because sometimes guys show up and can hit right away before the rest of the league figures out what they don't do well. They always figure out what you don't do well, and then that's all you're going to get. And now it's up to you to readjust it. Like, go back to Mike Trout, right? Mike Trout, when he showed up, he was bad. The league figured him out, and boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden he adjusted back, and he's been Mike Trout ever since. Andy Pages showed up, had a little success. Pitchers adjusted to him. Andy Pages struggled. He adjusted, and he started to come back out of it. Outman came in raking. They figured out what he didn't do well, namely velocity above his hands, and they've just been hammering him with it ever since, and he hasn't been able to adjust to the adjustment. Him going out really did not fill me with any like, oh my gosh, one day we're gonna run into this guy and he's gonna break your heart. I think he's a classic 4A player. I think there's probably a place for him in the major leagues, but certainly not on a team that's trying to win a World Series.
And I feel that's the same case right there with Dustin May as well. He has 3 starts for the Red Sox, went only 3 2/3 innings in his Boston debut, 6 hits, 3 earned runs. But since in each of his last 2 starts, he has gone 6 innings in each of them, even though he has had traffic, only a total of 2 runs between both of them. So Dustin May looking good. And that was a win-win situation when you look at the Red Sox needed started pitching. Yeah. Dustin May wanted to be a starter, and he didn't have a spot in the rotation for LA. And it was like, okay, we're going to get 2 prospects back, one very highly touted one that's in the top 10 for the Dodgers right now, where it was like, okay, we don't need Dustin May right now. Let's send him out there. You could have used him out of the bullpen. I know you weren't a big fan of that, and that's not your favorite thing to say, or you don't like saying that. That was the alternative. And it was like, okay, do we have an angry guy at the bullpen that is going to be walking guys and having a lot of traffic, or do we trade him and get away and get some assets? And the Dodgers were able to do so. We wish once a Dodger player leaves, I always wish them success, always, except when they play the Dodgers. So I'm happy that May is doing his thing and that he's looking good right now in Boston.
Yeah, look, Dustin May is a good major league pitcher. I think that he's somebody that will be in this league for a long time, and he'll have varying degrees of success. He is a major leaguer in my estimation. The difference is, I think you know what it is, right? That this is kind of who he is. He's going to have some good days. He's going to have some not so good days, and he is a perpetual injury risk. That's just the player that he is. The Dod, as weird as it sounds, and even though, and he may still be the second most, second most innings on the Dodger pitching staff at this point. I think Kershaw's about to catch him, but it was. The Dodgers had an abundance of starting pitchers, even though they were kind of in a weird spot, that you knew Ohtani was coming back, that you knew some of these other, that Glasnow and Snell were on the horizon, that they were coming back. There was a surplus there. And I think there's more unknown about Justin Robleski. There's more unknown about Emmett Sheehan. Keep in mind that Gavin Stone and some others are going to be available next year. They're just the squeeze on May was, all right, this is what it is. He's inconsistent. When he's good, he's really good, but you're never quite sure what you're going to get. Let's see these other guys. Let's move on from him. And I'm with you. I always thought that, all right, if this guy could just get a little more consistent, if he could attack the strike zone a little more effectively, it always felt like he was pitching defensively. It never felt like he was really kind of going at hitters the way that I was hoping that he would. He'll have success in the big leagues. I don't know if he'll ever be an all-star or anything like that, but he will pitch in the major leagues for a long time. But I understand why the Dodgers did what they did with him. It felt like it was time to try something else.
Yeah, there's success that you measure with All-Stars, with All-MLB, with World Series, all that kind of stuff. But there's also success where it's like, hey, man, if you can make a living and get a bag here, a bag there, a contract here, a contract there, and stay in the big leagues for over a decade, that's success for a lot of players that you don't see in a lot of cases, where you see guys that struggle to get to the big leagues. And once they get there, they're there for a cup of tea. Dustin May, he's been here now for a while with the Dodgers first, and now with the Red Sox. We wish him success. And just to get your stat, Yoshinobu Yamamoto leads the team, 133.2 innings pitched. Dustin May, only other Dodger with over 100 innings pitched, 104. Yeah. Actually, none has over 80 after these two guys. Kershaw, 77 and 2/3 innings.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Clayton Kershaw has the third most. And by the way, Clayton Kershaw needs to put a stop to another embarrassing trip the way he did against San Diego. So they're asking a lot out of their veteran Kershaw. But look, Dustin May, to kind of put a button on that, he's a major league pitcher. He'll pitch in the major leagues for a long time, and it was time to move on. And I no hard feelings, no regrets, and let's see what happens next.
Well, that will do it for today's show. From Travis and I, thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And also catch Pete Fox after every Dodgers game on our YouTube channel with his live postcast. I'll be back on Friday. Save us, King Kershaw. Don't let the Dodgers become the second team from the NL West to lose a series against the Rockies this season. They didn't win their first divisional series until last week against the Diamondbacks. That's crazy. Travis, before you go, I need you to help us get the Dodgers on the right track. How do you think LA will do in their early game over there at Coors Field today?
I don't know. Here's what I'm hoping. They better show up and fight like crazy. That the result, it will be what the result is going to be. But if it is another daydream, walking around in a fog, walking and letting the Rockies dictate what's happening, that would be wildly disappointment. I'm optimistic that they'll win. They should win, but I'm much more looking at the way that they hit the field today and the way that they compete more than anything else.
Yeah, they just can't show up and think that by showing up, they're going to win. They need to go out there and play the way that Dodger baseball should be played. Just remember how you played on Tuesday and do that today on Thursday. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.